Right, Cloud Cutter. It's a shoot 'em up. It's a little different from your usual shoot 'em ups. I've been playing a couple of them the past few years. This one is fully utilizes your 16 by 9 aspect ratio. You can go all the way up to the left of your screen, all the way to the right. Usually, these games are very vertically enclosed. They're designed for like arcade cabs, so you'll have a lot of verticality and not a lot of horizontal movement in comparison to what's available on your monitor. But this one utilizes the entire width of it. Another way it differentiates itself is that you are persistently shooting. This is completely automatic. You do not have to hold down a button like other games. Other games is, there's a little penalty, like you may have a movement slowdown. Other games, you have no movement slowdown, and there's no reason to not be shooting constantly because there's no civilians or anything. Nothing incredibly game-changing. I'm surprised I haven't seen this done before, just completely automatically shooting all the time. You've got like a super missile that charges up roughly every 2 seconds. It charges up so frequently that instead of holding down X or whatever, you'll just be mashing R2 throughout the entire playthrough. It's about twice as long as a typical STG game. It's like 12 levels, maybe more than that. They're lengthy, but they're relatively slow paced, even though you're flying on this jet. You're shooting at things on the ground, so it would make sense, for the ground to be scrolling at 300 miles an hour. This can lead to times where the screen's scrolling and like nothing's happening. In the opening stage, after you use the airstrike to take out a submarine or some giant ship, there's like 20 seconds of nothing. Not really sure what they were doing there. Like they literally say, hey, take this out with an airstrike. They wanted you to do that, and then they just left you with all this free time to contemplate stuff. I'd say it looks really good, very well detailed. It reminds me an awful lot of a game from 2011, a whole decade ago, called Renegade Ops. It had a very, very similar look. Renegade Ops was a twin-stick shooter where you drive around in a jeep and then, drive through buildings, blow up ship, chug, etc. Yeah, when it comes to the pace, there's about 12 levels. They go relatively slowly, they feel lengthy, they're about like maybe 5 minutes each. The abilities are fairly alright. You got like an airstrike which completely decimates things. You got bullet time thing which I believe buffs your damage. And you've also got a laser which has the least amount of source I've ever seen on a laser beam. It just looks like a red line is being drawn from your ship to whatever's in front of you. There's no like brrr noise. There's just their health disappears. The game does several things to try and make it seem more adventurous. Like towards the end of the first level, you'll shoot up to the clouds and then you'll dive bomb. It has this really bizarre perspective that's not used again in any part of the game. I guess maybe call them gimmicks in a way, but it does help them stand out from every other level in the game. There's even a stealth section, and the stealth section, it literally only happens one time. It's really strange. Like this stealth segment's just used once and then it's never seen again. Likewise, towards the end of one of the latter levels, it goes to this behind the airplane over the shoulder view, and it wants you to fly through some series of pipes close to the ground. Kind of a cool idea, but also as the pipes get close to the camera, they don't go transparent, so they're literally just blocking your view. So they do try these unique, somewhat gimmicky things. They work to different degrees. They're not all winners. There's about 13 levels. You have easy, medium, and hard difficulties for each one of them. With regards to difficulties, I didn't really feel like there was much of a change. I played the opening level on easy just to see what sort of challenge there was going to be with the game, and then I switched to hard, redid it, and it didn't really feel like it was much different from easy mode. Like honestly, I think the bullet patterns were the same. I think the enemies are the same. Maybe things like damage received from enemies and health obtained from the health pickups is a little different, but otherwise it wasn't all that wild. I see a couple of complaints on the Steam forum saying that there's unfair difficulty and massive spikes, but if you've played other games from this genre, you really shouldn't have a problem with this one. I'd have to say it's fairly easy. Things are well telegraphed. The screen doesn't get completely filled with nonsense, magic eye bullshits, spirographs of bullets. You should have a relatively easy time with this. There's no checkpoints in this game. You're given a life bar. Once that life bar is done, you're dead. There's no shields. There's no pickups of shields. Fortunately, there's pickups for health. Very generously, these pickups of health don't dissipate. So even if the guns are blazing and going up to them is pretty dangerous, they will hang about on the screen and they will eventually make their way to the bottom left or right corner for you to pick up very easily. You just gotta stay alive till then. I'm not sure what the complaints about unfair difficulty are aimed at exactly. There's little fighter enemies that fly in, little jets, and they'll shoot missiles that'll heat seek a bit. You can move around them, and once you move around them once, they'll blow up before they even get back to you. It's not really a big deal. There's cannons that shoot in straight lines. It's pretty well telegraphed. A giant sound will go off, so we move left or right. There's towers that shoot in 6 directions. One of which is really relevant because you only shoot in a straight line in this game. You don't have a giant fan spread like most STG games, so just once you got a straight shot, line it up and fire away. Complaints about the game, I'd have to say, is the bosses. There's a big jet with some laser thing on its back. There's a hovercraft, and there's the spider tank at the end of the game. They go way too long. Well, I would say the jet goes about the right time. The other two go way too long. You just chugging away, knocking bits and pieces off of them. And the thing is, they don't change phases. They simply start with everything they've got. And once you destroy parts of them, the bosses become less and less. Like, there's less things to be concerned about. There's less things to look out for. The bosses just become less interesting as you whittle away at the health bar. It feels like they're intensely trying to avoid typical things from these games. Like, your bosses aren't, you know, a giant flying spaceship with 10,000 lasers on it. It's generally, they're pretty down to earth. There's very few bosses. There's generally levels just dedicated to bosses. I think there's 3 overall. When you get to the end of a level, instead of a boss, you generally just destroy war assets, like you destroy a fuel station, dam, oil platforms, aircraft carrier, things of that nature. I honestly didn't even notice that I was destroying a climactic end of level set piece until I just glanced at the top of the screen and noticed that there was an energy bar. It pops up without any fanfare. There's no warning, or, you know, high value target acquired, etc., shit like that. It's very unassuming. Like, you just might be shooting at some turrets and then they'll blow up and then a whole building will go down with it, and that was the level. You just did it. Good job. Another complaint I have is that the types of bullets they use are all over the place. You start off against helicopters that shoot these pink shots, and the reason why pink shots are in shoot 'em ups are generally because they're easy, very distinctive against backgrounds. Usually you're flying through space, you're flying over an urban landscape, which is going to be, you know, gray, green forests. Pink usually stands out against a lot of things. But then they'll have other ones that are just like white. You'll have some cannons shoot out tracking white. It's like being chased by a line of ellipses. For some reason the helicopters, there'll be other ones that shoot out yellow versions of the same shot. And this will be on a snow stage, or they kind of blend in a bit. Speaking of blending in, quite a lot of the grounded enemies, you know, turrets, things of that nature, some of them blend into the environments. I have to say it's on the snow stage, you know, they are going for some version of realism here. You know, camouflage makes sense, but I had no idea I was shooting at these things until the health bars popped up. When it comes down to, would I recommend this game? I'd have to say, yeah and no, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for like a casual experience, you look for, you know, sumptuous backgrounds, and, you know, you just want to maybe want to play with a friend. A lot of shoot 'em up games don't have co-op features. This does. It might be for you, but if you're looking for challenge, which I assume most shoot 'em up players are, I'd have to recommend you go elsewhere. This is a pretty straightforward, very simple game. It's perfectly fine, adequate. Things could have been better. Things could have been way, 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 way worse. They're doing something a little different. Does it work? To degrees. A lot of things are very anticlimactic, like the end of level buildings that you destroy. Clamp Cutter is okay. there's probably another game that you could play that I've subtly been hinting at during this. Maybe you can go play that instead.